So we decided I would go up there and I would see what they had to say, but I'm not buying into nothing. And that's what I said when I first walked in the door with Dr. McKee, was I'm here, I'll take the testing, and I'm not buying into anything. So she accepted where I was at, or because I could have turned around and walked out the door that day. So that's kind of how that whole deal went. Well, my name is Ira Bryant. I'm from Clinton, Illinois. I work in a factory for the last 40 years, and that's probably caused the situation that I'm in as far as my hearing. We've had hearing tests at work for the last 25 years, so the hearing, I've seen it in a decline over the last 25 years too. I wear my hearing protection there and stuff, but I didn't do enough probably to protect it outside of work. Well, a lot of the things that we do, or I choose to do, whether it be hunting, shooting, we go to a lot of race car races that's loud, like late model stock cars we enjoy going to. So a lot of those things are loud, above the decibel that we hear a lot about. And probably in our younger years, we didn't do enough to protect it like I should have been. Well, when you're in your 20s and 30s, it's not that important to you. And whether I was hunting around home or, I was fortunate enough to get to go to Alaska on a couple of hunting trips, and Canada and British Columbia, and hearing protection was really at the bottom of the priority list at that time, till you get older and realize it's an issue. Well, a lot of it through seeing the specialist, thought it was from having early surgery with tubes put in my ears, some of that scarring and stuff that went along too. And they were not really able to put a finger on why my right ear was so much worse than my left ear. It's been bad like that noticeably for probably the last 15 or 20 years, probably. There's so much even when we were driving in a car with my right ear being the worst. So a lot of times my wife would say something to me, and then I find myself saying, what, looking to the right, and then I got my eyes off the roadway too while I'm trying to understand what she said. Or the same with the TV at home, where she has a TV on 10 and I have it on 30. So it's stuff like that, I could really tell where my right ear was a lot worse than my left. Along with the charts at work, they gave us a printout and it showed the results and that steady decline over the last 20 years or so. One thing that was really probably noticeable is if me and my wife go out to eat, she sits across from me, so it's not an issue. But if we're in a group of people sitting at a table of maybe 8 or 9 people, if there's a certain person I really want to talk to, I always make them sit to my left, so they're on my good side. And then, of course, my right side is my bad side. So otherwise, I'd find myself looking at them all the time. So in that aspect, I could see that is an issue, along with driving in a car. Really, the time when it was bad was a pandemic. And everybody put masks on, and I was in trouble. I knew it was bad then, because I guess what I was doing then was I was reading lists more than I ever thought. And it was very frustrating at that time. And things got pretty bad then for me at work even. I couldn't hear people when you had the spacing 6 feet away. And I was in a part where I just told people to stay away from me. And it was kind of bad at work for a while, even with the mask stuff, because I couldn't understand people and it got pretty frustrating. I've always just went with what I have. This is what I got. I try to stay away from the medical field. I've not spent a day in the hospital since I was 10 years old. And I've not heard a whole lot of positive stuff for hearing aids over the years, probably. My father-in-law always complained about his. It was too loud or he couldn't turn it down. There was no adjustment. So I wasn't really sold on new technology that much, but it has gotten a lot better, and I do realize that. I guess a turning point was the pandemic deal, and I was at our family physician over a different issue with blood pressure deal. Nothing, I've never taken any kind of prescription medicine or anything. and the hearing deal come up with the pandemic, and she thought that if I seen a specialist, I could improve my situation. So really the pandemic deal and that really got the ball rolling, and I probably wouldn't address the issue then, but she said at that time, right or wrong, that 30% of dementia in people is caused by mild hearing loss, and up to 5 times the chance of you having dementia for bad hearing loss. So that was kind of a turning point that, and with a little pressure from my wife and son, that I ought to have it addressed due to we get close to retirement and we want to have a quality life in retirement. Well, once I seen the family physician and he moved me to the specialist and they did the testing, and basically the results showed the same thing that I'd been getting from my workplace, that my right ear was really bad. And he come up with the fact that a cochlear implant would be the only thing that would help my right side. That's how bad the right ear was. And it was the cord between the eardrum and the brain. But they could improve on the left side with the hearing aid. So he said that he would forward me to the Bloomington-Normal audiology if I was willing to go listen to what they had to say. So that's what we did. After I thought about it a little bit, then we got back a hold of him, and he set this up with Bloomington Audiology, and that's where I met Dr. McKee. Well, my whole life has been the fact that I don't make decisions on impulse. Whether it's shopping for a vehicle or whatever it is, I don't buy on impulse, and I don't make decisions. I like to think things through. And that's what we did that day. We went home, and me and my wife talked about it, and so we decided I would go up there and I would see what they had to say, but I'm not buying into nothing. And that's what I said when I first walked in the door with Dr. McKee, was I'm here, I'll take the testing, and I'm not buying into anything. So she accepted where I was at, or because I could have turned around and walked out the door that day. So that's kind of how that whole deal went. Well, I didn't really know when I went there the first time, other than I had to put a mask on again. So I was already, my blood pressure was probably climbing as I walked in the door, just due to the fact we already went through the pandemic stuff, and I was having such a struggle communicating with people through that. Now here we go again. So I was already upset by the time I walked in the door, before me and Dr. McKee had the first conversation. So it's kind of where we was on that deal. When we went in there, we were going to do the testing again, something like what I did at my factory for the last 25 years. So we went into a room, and they had it all set up, and it was just like I do in the past. You know, it was high beeps and low beeps and right ear, left ear, you know, same stuff I'm used to. But then it come to where she was going to say words to me. And that's something I've never had at my factory testing. It's always been sounds, high pitch, low pitch. You can hear birds or you can't hear birds. She started saying words to me in my right ear, and then I knew I wasn't doing good. And I would say, I don't understand, I can't hear that or whatever. And she would say, well, just guess. So I did, and I knew I was doing poorly. And then it went to the left ear, and I felt like I was doing pretty good then with the sound. And so after it was done, we went to another room and she gave me the results. Well, I only got 40% right with my right ear. That was pretty poor. And I know I was guessing. I probably wouldn't have got 20. And she said then it was right on the borderline to having a cochlear implant, like the specialist told me. I knew it was bad and I was struggling. And like she explained to me later, it was like having a car stereo speaker and having that speaker blown. No matter how much you increase the sound, it's never going to get better. And that's what happened to my right side. It was like the static in that speaker, no matter how you turn it up. And this is how Natalie explained it to me. No matter how much you turn it up, I would never distinguish the words. Well, I had two options. The specialist at Warner Hospital said that I would not have no hearing on my right side without the cochlear implant. And there's really not a lot of help they could give me there. And Natalie disagreed. She was a little upset that he gave me that option, because she has an option. She said they could design a hearing aid for my right ear that would transfer all the sound on this side to the hearing aid on my left side. The only thing would be I would not be able to distinguish where the sound come from, but in a vehicle, that sound would come into my right side and transfer wireless to my left side. And she said they tried that a few years ago and it had a wire from one side to the other and it didn't go over well at all. And that would not have went good with me either. I would not like that. But they've come up with a wireless set. So basically I had the option to use the one on the right and then put the one on the left, and I would have that hearing on the right side. They set everything up and they told me to come back in a couple of weeks and they'd have all put together. We were going to test the right side. Natalie got everything set up on my phone. The whole system would have to be user-friendly for me. I mean, from charging to be able to work it, everything would have to fit for me to buy into this. So she set everything up, got all the hearing aids on, everything's set up, ready to go. And so we were going to have a test run. And I'm looking straight ahead. My wife's on this side. And Natalie says, well, okay, what I'm going to do with the right side, I'm going to read you about 8 sentences, 6 to 7 words in a sentence, and you repeat them back to me. The problem being, I'm looking this way, and she's standing behind me. So now I'm not going to be able to read lips. This is it. I mean, we're going to find out whether this right side's going to work or it ain't going to right. It's not going to work. And the Warner Hospital guy said, I'm not going to have no hearing on that side. So she started speaking, and so I started repeating them back. And I kind of felt like, I might be doing okay after the first couple sentences. I mean, I was hearing good. So she got completely done, and she said, you got 100%. And I looked over at my wife, she was crying. So, because she's seen it all. I mean, just from we've been together since I was senior in high school. She was a freshman. So she's seen this decline and, how it's worked. So from going from not going to be able to have no hearing on this side again to that. So really that's the turning point where everybody won't have that situation. If their hearing ain't so bad as mine, you just have 2 hearing aids and it would be grand and it wouldn't be an issue. But there's still hope on the other side. And that's what it was for this. So then I was really sold on it. And I knew the quality of life would be better. I knew that after the fact, I was able to get into the woods and just be able for me to be in the outdoors, because I was about ready to be done. Just the fact that anytime I was in the field, your head has to be on a spinner because my hearing was so poor. So now I can hear and kind of enjoy the outdoors a lot more. And I was able to hear stuff that I haven't heard in 20 years. And I just have to be really careful with my left ear going forward and protect it. For me, I had to have something that's user-friendly, not something I had to change batteries on. For me, I have a charger. I kind of leave it on the area there on the kitchen counter. It's out of the way. I just take them out and just drop them in it. They charge. I don't have to take them off and shut it off when it says charge. I can leave them on there for 2-3 days. It had to be user-friendly and convenient for me too. I mean, it all had to fit together for me to buy into it. With the phone deal was pretty neat too. Was have it hooked to my Bluetooth. And one thing I really like, I told Natalie I'd never use it, but there was a P1 and a P2. Well, if we're eating at a restaurant and it's really noisy around us, then I could turn it to P2 and it dampens all the sound out around me. And it just concentrates here at my table. So that was a pretty neat bonus, I could actually listen to my music and it goes right into my hearing aid too, which was kind of a great deal. I mean, I can really like that too. So there's a lot of perks, and they're very simple for me. Well, I'd say with the science out there and with the dementia causes and stuff and the quality of life, it'd be good to at least go see what's available and see how it can improve like I did. I mean, I'm a perfect example as to just taking baby steps to move forward to see how it works for you. They're really wonderful. I mean, I'm glad I got them. I'm glad I moved forward. If not for the pandemic and a lot of the circumstances that happened to get me where I was at, or maybe I would have continued on the same path I was on and I would have lost the hearing in my left ear. And then Cochlear's would have been the only option. We were at a play deal, the same thing. It was found it kind of a little bit boring. And then she was sat next to me and my son, and so I just punched in my music. They're the ones that created this deal. So then all of a sudden when they looked over at me and I flipped it up and I was actually listening to Hank Williams Jr. So then they were kind of upset about the whole deal. Well, they created this, so. Yeah.